when you quite literally break your neck in the name of cinema. This is Sherlock Jr.
Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast all about the sight and sound greatest films of all time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie. Hi, that's me.
And we're back on the sight and sound list this week for the second Buster Keaton we've done on the show so far. We previously did The General. Now we're doing Sherlock Jr.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know, summer's in full swing. Well, almost. I don't know if you saw the forecast for this weekend, but
Gonna be bad.
It's unreal. Yeah.
Why do you live here if you hate the weather so much?
Because this is where the movies are. Jackie, before we get into this week's episode, what other movies have you been watching?
Just Poor Things.
Yeah, rewatch?
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's so good, but honestly, there was nothing like seeing it in a theater. Like, seeing it in theater was really, really fun for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, super fun. But I'm obviously still great. What have you been
That was your shortest ever.
Okay, I watched it. I'll elaborate. I watched it with my best friend, who's not really like a film person, but she really wanted to see it. And I was so scared. I was so scared watching it. I was like, oh my God, she hates it. She hates it. And then it ended and she was like, that was so good. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I feel like that one's kind of a crossover. Like, you don't need to be a dedicated film person to like Poor Things, I think.
It's pretty weird, though. Like, it is pretty weird. But yeah.
Nice. That's great.
I know. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I need to rewatch. I've only seen it the one time, but...
Don't you have the disc?
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen your disc.
Yeah, I just haven't watched it yet.
You'll see what I mean when you watch it at home. Like, obviously, it's still great, but there's something about seeing it in a theater.
Well, in all
so fun.
fairness, too, the theater I went to, there was like 3 other people in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
mine was a packed house. It was wonderful.
Oh, okay. No, it was it was a small theater for me. I rewatched John Waters' Crybaby.
Oh, wow.
Which I love, which is great.
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
I know.
It's like a musical.
I know. I gotta see it.
Yeah, it's great. You know, this and Hairspray were like his big attempts at kind of making a mainstream Hollywood movie. Mm-hmm. And but they still feel like a John Waters movie. So that's great. But yeah, always a joy to revisit that one. And then for the first time, went back to a little Hammer horror for Rasputin the Mad Monk. This was great. This has Christopher Lee as Rasputin.
Oh, wow.
And it was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I don't understand how there are so many of these.
Hammer horror?
Yeah.
Because the studio was just churning them out and they were reusing sets and stuff. So this was shot concurrently with like Dracula, Prince of Darkness. So they're like using the same sets, and Christopher Lee shot them back to back, and they were made cheaply.
Yeah. Like, how cheap?
Not like Roger Corman cheap, but you know, on the cheaper end for sure. But they look great. There's something about the British where like they know how to put the money on the screen or make it look like there's more money on the screen than there actually is. So this was incredible. I really liked this. And it's kind of notable for being one of Christopher Lee's more distinctive performances, because, you know, you think of him as Dracula, you think of him as these like more reserved characters. In fact, he's in The Hound of the Baskervilles with the Sherlock Holmes story with Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing makes one of the great Sherlocks, but this role as Rasputin, you know, he has long hair, big beard, and he's just like gnarling throughout this whole movie. Sorry, snarling throughout gnarling. He's just like snarling through this whole movie, and it's a great performance by him. It's very physical. He does a lot of kind of like Russian dances in it, and like honestly had a great time with it.
Russian accent?
You know what? No, the whole movie, it's just British people with British accents, and they're just like, cool. This is Russia. And it's like, oh yeah, okay.
So funny.
But yeah, good little movie. 90 minutes long. I also found out when it came out in, I think it's 1966, they handed out fake Rasputin beards at the theater to people.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that great?
I wonder if you can find one online.
I'm sure you can. I think that's one of the more specific movie tie-ins I've ever heard about. Like,
that's hilarious. How much does he look like the Rasputin in Anastasia, the animated Anastasia?
I mean, not far.
That's what I'm saying. If he has a long beard. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Right? So, yeah, no, good movie. I enjoyed it. So, anyway, that's me. But that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss a seminal silent classic. This is one of the most famous silent comedies and silent films, period. In terms of like pure innovation in filmmaking, you'll find this frequently on the top of like, or near the top of many lists of just like pioneering in special effects. So let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
From 1924, this is Buster Keaton's Sherlock Jr.
Sherlock Jr. was released in 1924. It was directed by Buster Keaton, written by Gene C. Chavez, Joseph A. Mitchell, and Clyde Bruckman. Cinematography by Byron Huck and Elgin Leslie. Music in the Cohen Film Collective restored version by Timothy Brock. A projectionist at a small-town movie theater tries to woo the girl of his dreams. However, another man, the local sheikh, also has his eye on her and pawns a watch he stole from the girl's house to buy her an expensive box of chocolates. The projectionist, who is also an amateur detective, investigates the theft of the watch, but the sheikh slips the pawn receipt into his pocket. The girl's father discovers it and kicks him out of the house. The projectionist returns to work, where he falls asleep during a show. He dreams that he is able to jump into the screen and join the plot of the movie. In the movie, he is a respectable detective, Sherlock Jr., who is brought in to investigate a case of stolen pearls. He catches the perpetrators, another cad who looks exactly like the sheik. After a long chase and with the help of his master of disguise assistant, Gillette, Sherlock recovers the pearls and gets the girl. The projectionist wakes up to find the girl apologizing and telling him they know the truth. The projectionist watches the final moments of the film and mimics the actions of the leading man, replacing the ring he gave the girl on her finger and kissing her. The film stars Buster Keaton as the projectionist / Sherlock Jr., Catherine McGuire as the girl, Joe Keaton, the director's father, as the girl's father, and Ward Crane as the local sheik / the villain. Apparently, Keaton was going to co-direct the film with Roscoe Arbuckle, whose nickname was Fatty. Arbuckle was an actor and director who discovered Keaton. However, he was accused of raping an actress and model named Virginia Rapp. He was acquitted but blacklisted in the industry, and Keaton explains how bad of a temper Arbuckle had on set in the aftermath of the scandal. So much so that he left the film because Keaton arranged for him to direct a Marion Davies film. However, Arbuckle's second wife claims that he was responsible for a lot of Sherlock Jr. Who knows?
Yeah, I have a box set of Buster Keaton.
Arbuckle?
No, Buster Keaton shorts. And it's like the complete shorts. And they all, like the first however many are all Fatty Arbuckle shorts that Buster Keaton like co-stars in.
Yeah, So he wanted to help out his friend after this whole rape scandal, but who knows?
That was, too, the Fatty Arbuckle scandal was one of the all-time biggest Hollywood scandals ever.
The name of Sherlock Jr.'s assistant, Gillette, is an homage to the actor who played Sherlock Holmes on stage for many years, and in the 1913 film adaptation, William Gillette.
No, it's actually the Gillette Shaving Company.
So they make a funny joke about it, too, saying he was like razor sharp.
Yeah, I love that. The
title card. It's so fun. The stunt involving disappearing into the suitcase was achieved by having the actor playing Gillette lying horizontally somehow, don't know how, with long clothes under him. And he was holding a suitcase, which was a trap door. And that's how he runs. But how is he laying horizontally?
Like that's on a plank above the hole? Yeah,
something like that.
But then in that same shot, he also springs out. Like he springs to life and comes out. I don't know if it cuts or if he just like jumped from the plank into like the fake feet or something. I don't know how they did that, but it's a marvel.
It's amazing. It is really amazing. The stunt involving the water spout and the train led to one of Buster Keaton's most serious injuries. The water was way stronger than he thought it was going to be, and he got knocked down, falling on his neck on one of the steel rails. It was shot in Chatsworth, like on a railroad. Years later, he had an x-ray, and it turns out he actually broke his neck.
Jesus.
Which I didn't know you could do and survive to tell the tale.
Yeah.
I thought breaking
lucky.
your neck means you die.
Yeah, I think in most cases. That's crazy. He didn't know for years.
Yeah, he did
broke his
pass
neck.
out when it happened, but then he got
God.
x-rays like years later, and they were like, you broke your neck.
You would think someone like him would get x-rays every like few months.
Right. Filming took 4 months, which was long for a Buster Keaton movie, but the complicated stunts were more difficult than he thought they were going to be. It was shot in various neighborhoods in LA, including Glendale, shout out, Los Feliz, Echo Park, Larchmont, and Beverly Boulevard, which of course is now where Larchmont Village is. So that's where they're scooting around.
Wow.
One of the strange instances where a producer was asking for more film, but Keaton refused. So he cut the film after a test screening. He shortened it quite a bit, and he said, like, I'm going to keep it at 45 minutes, but the producers were like, you know, we want it longer, and he was like, no. So it's like one of those rare cases where it's it's usually the reverse, right? The producers want to cut. It was originally titled The Misfit, but it was renamed after the test screenings.
Good call.
It was his first real financial failure. He considered it like one of his minor works. Some historians say it is the first feature film to include a film within a film framing device. So those are my specs.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you. Initial thoughts?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing this
10 years ago?
No, I think it was more. I think I saw it in a film class. Because it's just one of those movies. I'm almost positive this was the first Buster Keaton I ever saw. I saw this before The General and stuff. Before Steamboat Bill Jr. and stuff. Yeah, I mean, what's there to say? I've always liked this movie as I hit my headphones. Yeah, I've always liked this movie. It's a technical marvel, and I think it's so the right call making it 45 minutes long because
it's
I think
so good. I know
it's so kind of chaotic that if it was longer, it might feel like too much, but at 45 minutes, it's like pretty perfect. I mean, we've had this discussion before, but I prefer Buster Keaton to the other silent comedians. The other two big ones being Chaplin and Lloyd. And while I like all those guys, and you don't need to pick a favorite, you know me, I'm all about picking favorites. So there's something about Buster Keaton's. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about Buster Keaton's comedy that resonates with me the most. I think of the three, his comedy has aged the best because it is this kind of deadpan style.
Yeah.
And because he's the most grounded of the three. You know, Chaplin's stuff is obviously very much of the tramp character is very much of a thing. And there's something about Buster Keaton just being the everyman. In this case, you know, he's just a young broke boy that works as a projectionist and is in love with this girl.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's something that speaks to me about him. And I think this movie, you know, you're not going to go into it and laugh through the whole movie because, again, Buster Keaton's not really that filmmaker where it's like wall-to-wall laughs. It's more like, as we talked about in our episode on The General, kind of an action spectacle.
Definitely.
You know, I mean,
it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And directors like George Miller and Orson Welles all love Buster Keaton and would always quote him as the main inspiration behind just how to shoot like an action scene.
Definitely.
And I think that's, for 1924,
it's amazing.
The chases in this movie and how it goes from one thing to another on foot, on car, on bike, on boat. It's just so impressive. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the movie for me has no emotional weight to it, but it's okay because it's 45 minutes and also it's about the love of cinema and stuff.
That's the emotional weight.
Yeah, I think it's great. How about you?
Yeah. First of all, it's just hilarious that it opens right where it's like just a boy, but then it's him. So it's like he's the director casting himself as a boy, which is so like I want to cast myself as like a 16-year-old. That'd be great. I think this movie's great. It's probably, I mean, I really haven't seen that much Buster Keaton, but like I like this one the most of the three that I've seen, I think.
What's the third that you've seen?
The Bill one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Steamboat. I like that one too. Honestly, The General's maybe the one I like least.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's the least whimsical of the three.
Yeah, this is my second time seeing this. And I think it's like, I mean, riffing off of you, I think it's very charming. I think that the huge influence it's had on, well, the big one that stands out is obviously Purple Rose of Cairo, which I love that movie, and that movie probably wouldn't exist without this movie.
For sure not.
I just love the magic aspect of this movie so much, and I love how the emotional weight really is about just a love of cinema, and I think that that's charming and lovely, and yes, a great 45-minute watch. But I will say, how crazy is it that 2 weeks in a row, not counting our s'mores episode, we have 2 movies including cross-dressing as a disguise?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's brief in this movie, but yeah.
But it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
the magic of ping pong.
I'm telling you, there's something going on. Not only that, but 2 movies that feature someone wearing spats.
Oh. You know what? I didn't even catch it in this one.
He's wearing it when he's Sherlock Jr., when he's like a fancy guy.
Oh, okay. Spats Columbo.
I think that that's really a hilarious thing. But let's talk about this whole... It's a very sophisticated device that he created using a movie within a movie. The whole leaving his body thing. Like, when I think of that, I think of like Winnie the Pooh. Do you remember the Winnie the Pooh cartoons?
Yeah, of course. Heffalumps and Woozles.
When he leaves his body when he's dreaming. It's exactly that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this is the first instance, probably not, where they double exposed and like you saw a person
leaving their body.
Either dying or dreaming or something. Yeah, like physically leaving their body. But this is like one of the most iconic uses of it for sure. Definitely.
And then it's just a beautiful way to express the whole framing device. Just a beautiful, not even framing device, but just this whole movie thing going on. Like, what a great way to just express his love for movies. I think it's wonderful. And when he jumps in the screen and it's like those match cuts.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we're talking about
that
technology from 100 years ago.
And people always mention that as being like very advanced, like those match cuts.
Yeah.
Just the concept of like a match cut. Like that was advanced for its time.
Well, like you said, I mean, for 1924, again, this movie this year is 100 years old.
That's crazy.
It's a century old. And being the first instance where someone kind of walks into a movie, and this has been done so many times since, you would expect it to be really primitive. Like they go into the screen, which is just a stage that's framed with a movie screen, and they just interact. But the fact that he introduces cuts, like the film he's in cuts.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, the cuts in the movie affect him.
Yeah.
Because he'll be on the beach and then he's on a rock. And
it's great.
Like that is
wonderful.
really sophisticated.
Yeah. There's lions.
Yeah.
He's at a beach. Yeah. He's in the mountains. It's so fun. And also just the way that the actors on the screen become the characters in his life.
Yeah.
Like, I love that moment too.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've seen that so many times in movies. I think it's great. And it's this eternal question of, does art imitate life or does life imitate art?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think a little of both.
What do you think in this movie?
Art imitates life.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But not only is it imagining, and then like he's imagining himself as the hero, right? Obviously he's like the hero of his story, of the movie. But then also at the end when he's back in the real world and he's looking to the movie on how to be and how to act.
Yes.
And I love that.
This must be the first instance of someone in a film watching another film and getting picking up behavior from it, right?
So good, yeah.
It's been done a million times.
I know, and I love at the end when they have babies and it like ends on that.
That
hilarious.
Is great.
It's so good.
Yeah. Where he's like, oh
his
shit.
eyes pop. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
I also just love that we see what a silent cinema looked like.
Yeah.
With the orchestra and the stage, and we get like a pretty authentic, I like to think it's an authentic like document about what these silent movie theaters really looked like.
I would say yes. And I would say too, I miss the days, not that I was around for it, but like I miss the days when like the front of the theater, because they'd be showing 1 or 2 movies and they'd have all this cool stuff from the movies in the front. Like, I don't know if you noticed, there was like, I think there's like a Marion Davies signed like headshot or something
In the lobby?
Yeah, and no, like outside the theater, like in the front where he's sweeping up, and there's like standees, and of course like that's still a thing we put them inside. I don't know, there's just something about that the look of the exterior of a theater that,
I know what you mean. And I love one of the titles of the movies is The Lounge Lizards Love.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is fun.
You know, back in the day too, I think around this time, like they implemented AC in theaters.
Oh.
And so that was a big draw, and they would advertise like equipped with air conditioning. And so that would draw people in who didn't have air conditioning at home.
Wow.
Like, oh, I'll go to the movies and see like 3 movies or whatever.
And stay there all day.
And just stay there all day and like, yeah, soak up the nice cool air.
What's funny is I know that in Beirut, Lebanon, like at least in like the 60s, this must have been, they used to like, they didn't have AC, and you would like lift up your feet and they would just like splash cold water on the floor.
They would splash it on the floor?
Yes.
So you couldn't put any belongings down there?
No, like they'd be like, okay, here comes the AC, and you had to lift your feet and then splash.
Wait, where would the water drain to?
I'm sure they had drains.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. But then you would just put your feet back down on the wet concrete
in the summer. This would only be when it was like really hot.
Right. Wow. That's wild.
I know. Can you imagine?
That's why when I go
like Waterworld.
Yeah. When I go into theater now and it's too warm, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like,
yeah, but I also don't like it to be too cold.
Oh, I like it to be cold.
I don't like being uncomfortable.
For me, I'd rather be cold than too warm. You know when a theater's stuffy?
I agree, but sometimes it's unbearable. Like one time, now we're on a tangent. One time I was seeing a movie theater in Fresno, which is
there you go.
I was seeing a movie in Fresno
Yeah.
and it's so hot, right? And it was the summer. And we were so cold that my sister went to the car and she had a bag of clothes that she was going to donate, right? She had a bag of clothes in her car that she was going to drop at like Goodwill or somewhere, one of those bins. She opened the bag and took out any clothing item, socks, t-shirts, whatever it was that she was going to donate. Brought it back inside and we covered ourselves with them because we were freezing.
Yeah, I hear you. I know.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a stigma behind, like growing up, like we'd go to the theater and my grandma would be like, bring your jacket. It's always cold in there. It's always cold. I don't know. I think there's something about it being slightly too cold that adds to the whole experience.
I don't know. Anyway, back to Sherlock Jr. How do you feel about the opening title where it says, don't try to do 2 things at once and expect to do justice to both of them?
I know. I saw that and I was like, fuck.
Do you? What do you mean?
Because we're all juggling so many things, right?
To.
You know, it's like, hopefully I'm doing things justice in my life. I
personally think you can multitask.
Yeah. I mean, you would hope so.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, it's just, look, it's a simple silent comedy. Like it's just sort of setting the stage for like, he's trying to do too many things. He's being too ambitious. He's trying to be someone ultimately who he's not. But yeah, I mean, I think you could multitask and be successful.
Yeah, I think so too. But like, yeah, that's the whole thing. So being the projectionist is his day job, right? But he really wants to be a detective.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it is sending a message to all these people who have day jobs where it's like, you can't really.
Well,
but you have to.
No, but look how the movie turns out ultimately. You know, it's like that the detective stuff pays off in the film, you know? It's like he maneuvers around the booby traps and stuff and he outwits people. So definitely. Like him reading up on it did, him studying to be a detective paid off.
In the film within a film.
Yeah, exactly.
But not in real life. In real life, the girl just goes to the pawn shop and she's like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
But in this movie, the film within a film becomes a reality, right? And like ultimately shapes the way that the main story goes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it doesn't really. Thinking about it, because
it doesn't. It just
she finds out that he didn't pawn the watch
by going to the pawn shop.
So the film within a film doesn't actually change anything.
Yeah.
Wait, right?
Yeah.
It's like that whole thing in Raiders where people are like, oh, even if Indiana Jones wasn't in this movie, it would play out exactly the same way, which is true. But I guess that's the case here too. If the film within a film dream didn't happen, the film would still end in the same place.
Yes, you're right about that. Wait, people say that about Indiana Jones?
Yeah, because he's like everything.
At the end, yeah, they just open the case and it's like,
yeah, like the
case,
Nazis take the Ark.
the suitcase, they open it up.
Yeah, the Nazis take the Ark to exactly where they were planning on taking it and opening it. And so all the same things would have happened if he wasn't in the story.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But I love the beginning part. I love when he's looking for the money. Like, I love when that woman comes and she's like, I lost $1. And he's like, describe it.
Yeah, that's great.
And then another woman comes who's crying, saying like, I lost $1. And he gives her his own and switches, like, he takes her hanky to cry and she takes the dollar. And he's describing it to her. He's like, was it about this big? And that part's so good. I love that stuff.
There's something too about Buster Keaton's stuff. I think why he's elevated for me of like the silent comedians is because the visual cues, the images in the movie are so crisp and clear. For example, when it's just that shot of him reading the book, like How to Be a Detective or whatever, but it's just like, you know, it's cartoonish in the way that it's perfect. Like you just get it all right there. And he's sitting there as his nickname, Stony Face, right? Stone Face. And he just has no expression as he's reading this book, How to Be a Detective. It's like the same thing in The General when he shows the picture of him in front of the train to someone. And it's just like him very deadpan, like looking straight at the camera off to the side as this like huge train is behind him.
Yeah.
Like he's so good at that stuff.
Yeah.
And he just has such a great, we talked about this in The General, but he does have a very modern sensibility. I think his comedy out of the three sort of titans translates the best to now, which is why I think if someone had never seen a silent comedy, I would point them to Buster Keaton first, I think.
Yeah.
You know? Because we don't have anybody like the Tramp now. Like,
now?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
do you mean? There's
no, I'm saying like
a recurring character.
No. I'm saying just that style of comedy where he's playing a vaudevillian character, you know, like he's not based on anyone in real life. He has this whole way of walking and he has the hat and the cane and he's very much just like a cartoon character, whereas Buster Keaton just looks like a guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. That's the difference. That's the difference in their humor.
Yeah.
I mean, Chaplin obviously really does go for the heart in his films.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think almost laying it on a little too thick, but Buster Keaton.
I don't know. Like, I cry at City Lights.
Yeah, of course. It's a beautiful movie. But like, do you find in the three Keatons you've seen
emotion? This one the most. That's probably why
this one the most?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I love
the cinema,
movies.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a different thing.
Yeah. It's different. Exactly.
But I mean, this chase is, first of all, before the chase, even the whole scene at the manor, which it gave me major Downton Abbey vibes, major. When they're playing pool, I love that scene.
Yeah.
Like, I love the scene where he's like, they're trying to get him and there's booby traps and he's going to sit on the chair, but then he doesn't and he gets up and when he lifts the stick really high and the ball like goes right around the 13, hilarious.
And the way
funny.
that the guys just, first of all, anytime he goes to queue up, like the two guys
They
run out of the room.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, like, you'll see the ball hop over or something and then he motions
he's
to the other guy.
He's like,
it's so good.
It's also funny that they have that one ball that's a bomb and he's demonstrating, but no one hears the
explosion. I know. Very slick.
It's pretty funny.
But again, you know, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
You know what it reminds me of? Have you seen that movie? Well, it kind of reminds me of Clue, but it also reminds me of Sleuth. Have you seen Sleuth with Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie. But yeah, I know what you mean. The Downton thing. Yeah, it's totally
It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And all that stuff is so, I mean, that's like comedy 101, where it's like, we're going to show you how this booby trap works, like the axe that falls down. Like, okay, this is how you set it. Here's the trigger. And then like the stupid guys already like almost set it off themselves.
Yeah, he almost drinks the poison wine too.
And then Buster Keaton comes through and does all the things you're not supposed to do, but it just doesn't activate.
Yeah, it's so good. But it's so funny, right? Because he leaves and he has the ball, he has the bomb, and the title card says, by the next day, the mastermind had completely solved the mystery with the exception of locating the pearls and finding the thief.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it is funny.
Well, in contrast too to the real life part of the movie, where like early on, there's the great banana peels gag.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I think banana peel gags are so fucking funny because they're so on the nose that it's just hilarious.
I feel like I've grown past them.
Oh, they're so good. Well, I just love pratfalls and I love physical humor and slapstick and stuff. But there was a very brief tangent. My friend and I were developing a live stage show, which we never ended up doing. But one of the things we're going to include was like a banana peel gag where someone slips on a banana peel and they fall like on their ass. And then they just lay on the ground motionless for like 5 minutes. And you just hear them go like, oh, and like put their hand on their hip or something and just like yell
for 5 minutes.
And just like drag it out. But no, there's something, the way he throws the banana peel, the guy misses it. And then, of course, he slips on it himself. Also, that fall, when Buster Keaton slips on the peel, like he goes up, his feet go up in the air, and he lands like on his shoulders and neck.
Yeah.
Like everything you're not supposed to do, especially if you're a grown man. Like if you're
harms his body.
If you're 12, okay. But like
12.
That's the thing. Watching any of these from any of these guys, Chaplin, Lloyd, whatever, like I'm like, dear God, I'm scared for them.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about how much that would hurt.
I know.
Like that's terrifying. And yeah, the water scene, dear God, with the train like falling on railroad tracks from that height.
Crazy.
Then this car pulls up and then the guy falls out of the car into the water also. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
And then there's the whole chase and Gillette when he falls from the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then he keeps going. I love that. I think that's a great stunt where he's just sitting on the motorcycle, doesn't know that Gillette has fallen.
Yeah.
And it's just driving itself.
It's wild.
I don't know.
It's wild what they had to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had someone, maybe it's like they had a driver built into another part of the car that you couldn't see.
Maybe.
That's what they do these days.
It's also hilarious too. It's so funny to me like that he hasn't even noticed that he's gone.
Yeah.
He's like talking to him and stuff.
That fall looks like it hurt too off the back of the motorcycle.
I know. Into the water.
Like, do they have a pad in the water?
I don't know.
It's shallow.
And also absolutely love when they realize that the car is like, like 4-wheel drive. So all 4 tires stop when you brake.
Oh, yeah.
And then it rips off and becomes a boat. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, isn't
like that
great?
is funny. And the sail, he uses the convertible top for a sail.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, it's really good.
But it is, it's very much like planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah.
I guess no planes, but boats.
Yeah.
Also, like the whole Gillette, I love Gillette. Like, I think he's great. I love how he's like a master of disguise and he's like a woman. And then I love the trick when he jumps through the window and then he's dressed in women's clothes.
That is wild.
It's super fun. It reminds me of, I think I showed you this, the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella that they made like
in the 90s.
No, not the Brandy one.
Oh,
the stage adaptation, which they must have made in like, don't quote me on this, but like 2011, 12. And she transforms on stage. So she's in her like Cinderella garb. And then she's twirling and she pulls a lever and she's in full ball gown and hair and crown and everything. Wow. It's really cool. So like when I saw Buster Keaton jumping through the window, I was like, that's so, but I mean, in this movie, like he was able to cut. So it's not really the same thing, but like still. I love quick changes.
Yes, but some of these things, I legitimately don't know how they did it.
I don't know how he did the clothes.
Sometimes it doesn't always look like a cut.
Yeah, I wonder how he did the clothes.
Right before that moment, too, where he jumps out the window into the clothes, there's that great thing of like the camera's outside, he's inside the building, and then all of a sudden the wall disappears on the building.
It's so great.
And it's just like, the fact that he's really playing with everything that a film within a film could be.
Yes.
Is so cool.
It is.
Like he's really 10 steps ahead here.
He is.
Truly.
And it fades the wall. It doesn't just disappear.
Oh, it does fade, right?
I think it fades.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So how do you do that?
It's just 2 separate shots that you fade into each other.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
And the actors just can't move.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many effortless match cuts. And it's like back then, because now you can do match cuts easily with digital technology. I said it's old digital technology, but it's true. Like there's software that can basically do a match cut for you, where it's just like maps the shot and like, okay, get in exactly this position. But back then, Jesus.
Yeah. It's very impressive.
I don't even know how they did it. Like, did they have to keep running the film back? Like, they get the first shot, they get it developed, they bring it in, they run it back again and again to make sure they match it up. I genuinely don't know.
Maybe.
Like, with no playback back then.
Exactly.
I just don't know how they did it.
Maybe they got it developed.
Maybe they did.
Like,
oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just thinking out loud.
Maybe they develop it, frame it, and then like draw on a frame exactly where he is and then stick it in front of, I don't know.
It's great.
I don't know how they did it. And they're like pretty effortless match cuts.
This suitcase one is so impressive. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around that stunt
Yeah.
where he jumps through the suitcase.
Yeah. Into, what's his name?
Gillette jumps into him.
Yeah. I know, it's wild. And it's not even the fact that he jumps into him. It's that he jumps into him. It doesn't look like it cuts. And then Gillette walks forward.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what magic is this?
Match cut magic.
That's some insane match cut right there. Because it's effortless. I didn't notice it.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It is jaw-dropping. I think a lot of the stuff in here is very jaw-dropping.
There's a certain moment, too, I haven't mentioned yet because it might be my favorite site. But, yeah, jaw-dropping is the right word. I think, too, of the... I hate to keep comparing them, but I think of the... no, I'm just going to say, of the big silent comedians, Buster Keaton is the most daring, I think, in terms of, like, truly willing to, like, fuck himself up. Life. When you think about the most famous silent stunts, you think about the house falling in Steamboat Bill or, like, some stuff from this, or it's like, yeah, I mean... Yeah.
That house falling one gives me so much anxiety.
I know.
It really does.
I know. Me too.
It's crazy.
I just don't know how he did all this.
By the way, I don't think we mentioned what number this is on the list.
Oh, I don't think so.
It's number 59 on 2012 and number 54 on 2022. So it went
a little bit, a couple slots.
Okay, so the only two on the list are Sherlock Jr. and the General.
Okay.
Steamboat Bill.
Yeah.
Steamboat Bill's funny though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much. I mean, he's so good. You know, it's like you could put so much on this list from Buster Keaton. I mean, he's just, I know I'm biased, but he's so good. Even the shorts too, like the stuff he'd made before the features. Like it's all great.
With Fatty.
Yeah. With Fatty, without Fatty. Like it's great stuff.
With or without fat.
Yeah. Yeah, God, this movie is such a wonder. I think more so than maybe any film we've covered so far outside of maybe like 2001. But again, this is 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Would you say this is the most like technically impressive movie we've done? Considering its age and like...
Yeah, this in 2001 probably.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite sight from Sherlock Jr.?
It's probably the moment when he jumps on the screen. Because I remember seeing it for the first time and I was like, whoa.
Nice.
I know it's boring, but...
No, it's not boring.
The sentimental old fart in me was like...
Whoa.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine is a stunt that I saw before I saw the movie, and I remember seeing it for the first time. Maybe it was even like in a film textbook or something, and I was like, whoa. It's just the scene. He's on the roof, and there's a car with Gillette, I think. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is it Gillette?
Jumps into the car?
Yeah, and there's like a railroad crossing arm.
Yeah.
And he grabs onto that and just rides it down to the car. I remember seeing that for the first time and just being like, oh my God, like someone's willing to do that.
Yeah.
Like there's no harness. There's no like, that's it.
I know.
If he slipped,
Game over.
Or at the very least,
Buster.
he shatters his legs and his pelvis and like, it's like, it's wild. So that's my,
I'm so glad he lived to appear in Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, he lived to a decent age considering everything he put his body through.
Yeah.
I mean, people think the Jackass guys are like, intense on their bodies. Like, look at Buster Keaton, honestly.
I mean, they're intense on their bodies too.
No, it's baby stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Buster Keaton surely never drank, horse semen or whatever. Like,
ew, they do that.
Although honestly, like that wouldn't do anything to you. You'd be fine.
They drink horse semen?
Yeah.
Ew.
That's like, wait, have you seen any of those Jackass movies?
I have.
That's not even the worst thing. Like the worst thing is like
the porta potty slingshot is awful.
Yeah. Well, they've all been concussed like many, many times.
What happens to that porta potty once it goes up? I don't remember. It just crashes down. How do they not die?
No, I think it's like on a rubber bungee thing. Yeah. That was Steve-O, I think, that did that. But there's way worse things they do from like
the semen's nasty.
Getting bitten by poisonous, insects and animals. And
why would they do
remember
that?
there's an alligator on their nipples. You remember that? Where it just like clamps down.
See, you're laughing.
Well, yeah. But it's, it's funny because that stuff, I think we said this last time, but that stuff is really a true successor to this stuff, to the Buster Keaton stuff. They're just doing it without the art, right? I mean, some could argue it's an art in its own right, with Steve-O getting in a porta potty and diarrhea going everywhere. But that is the true successor to what these guys are doing.
That's so disgusting, though. Like they have disgust. They have grossness.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite sound from Sherlock Jr.?
It's the music when he's playing pool, because you can hear every time he hits the ball. It's like ding. Like there's like a note, and it's just fun. It's like a ballet. And here it is.
Yeah, I love that cue. It's great.
I almost picked this one when he's searching them.
Yes, I almost picked that
and
too.
The music changes when he searches one of the women.
The music
like
changes.
Bum, 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 and then he like lightly checks the women. It's like
her
and
pockets.
Then like bum, 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 bum. Like, yeah.
Each person has a different musical cue.
It's good.
And yeah, Timothy Brock, I think, is like the main. If you see this movie, I think it's the Timothy Brock score.
I think so.
It's funny because silent films usually will have multiple soundtracks. Some of them will be like completely different interpretations. But yeah, the Timothy Brock one on the disc I have for this, that's the only option. And I think the one you saw was also Timothy Brock. Yeah. My favorite sound is there's like a love theme that plays a couple times, but it comes in kind of at its fullest when he wakes up, and he's back in the projection room, and here it is.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's so sweet, and yeah, it's great.
I love the ring, the ring with the magnifying glass.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's so funny.
And see, again, it's like, I kind of feel like Chaplin in his films has a lot of intertitles.
You're talking about Chaplin again.
Let me just say, because we did Modern Times, and it's probably double the length of this movie, so maybe it's not fully fair to compare. But there's so much. This happens. This happens. This person. This happens. They go and do this. Intertitle. This movie, minimal intertitles. Very, very minimal. For me, again, where film is a visual medium. I don't know why I'm starting this war, because like I love Chaplin.
Modern Times is way too written for my taste.
Did I say that?
No,
but Keaton Keaton is just better. I think he's better. I really do. Oh, you know which one is great? Is it called The Navigator? What's the one where he goes to the bottom of the ocean in that suit? That one's great. And also super short. I just like I really, really do respond to how economical Keaton's films are, and I think him shaving this down to 45 minutes and then being like no more, and he's like no, 45 is very telling of him as a filmmaker. He's not here to waste your time. He's not here. Rarely do I watch a Keaton film I'm like, that could have been a little shorter. It's like you get in, you get out. There's something so refreshing about that.
Yeah.
Pauline?
Yes.
Okay, Pauline Kael, here's what she had to say. The title of this Buster Keaton comedy doesn't do justice to what the movie is about. Keaton plays a projectionist who, while running a movie, Hearts and Pearls, enters the screen and becomes involved with the characters. Directed by Keaton, it's a wonderfully imaginative film, full of extraordinary tricks, so immaculately executed that they look simple. It's a piece of native American surrealism.
Wow.
Pretty glowing.
That is glowing.
And yeah, the title, Sherlock Jr., you kind of almost think like, he's just
Sherlock
gonna
Jones, yeah.
Sherlock Jones.
I keep fucking up Sherlock Holmes's name. What's wrong with me?
But yeah, you almost just think, she's right. She's right in the fact that you think this is kind of going to be like a throwaway, like, it's a guy who kind of tries to be a detective or whatever. But it's so much more than that. It's about cinema and going into cinema and going into dreams. And she's right.
I couldn't agree more.
I have a poster for this hanging in my
it's really
kitchen.
Cute.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't do this on purpose, but in my kitchen, there's a Sherlock Jr. poster and there's a Mon Oncle poster.
Oh.
So
2 comedies.
my 2 favorite silent comedians. Not that Jacques Tati is silent, but basically.
Yeah.
He might as well be silent.
Yeah.
Letterboxd?
Yes.
Okay, I have one that just says, I've never asked myself, how did they do that watching a Michael Bay film? Sherlock Jr. had me asking that question repeatedly. It's 91 years old. Well, now 100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
4 stars. The facts. 1. CGI was invented approximately 50 years after the making of this film. 2. Buster Keaton jumped through a man's stomach. 3. Buster Keaton was a witch.
I mean, yeah, it is hard to know how they did some of these things, for sure.
It's magic. It's like a magic show.
Speaking of that, someone gave it 5 stars and said, Buster Keaton demolishes the 4th wall and uses the bricks to build a magic castle.
Aww.
Unbelievably advanced, with special effects and trick shots that look absolutely seamless, as if they stand apart from the entire history of such shots in movies. And the best part is you don't have to wake up and forget it all after a few minutes. Love that.
1 star. This was the first movie that showed up when I looked up fart on the film section. I'm just trying to piss you off.
Oh boy.
Off mic, you said that you don't do quippy. And
Well,
I only do quippy.
No, I just don't write them, really. But I know those are the ones that get all the likes on Letterboxd. 1.5. It was okay. Some stunts were funny, but I was born in the 2000s, so it's not my kind of movie, but I thought it was funny. I'm like, what? If you thought it was okay and funny, why'd you give it 1.5? I was born in the 2000s.
So confusing. This is again you bashing on the Gen Zer.
No, I'm not.
Bashing on Chaplin, bashing on Gen Z.
I'm not bashing on Gen Z.
Will no one? Is there no end to your bashing?
No, I think in the case of something like this, it's just important to note the ways in which Keaton is superior to Chaplin. That's all.
Oh my gosh.
Look, they all have their strengths. They each have their strengths, but Keaton, in the ways I said, is legitimately superior.
Okay. 5 stars. Always do whatever the movies tell you to do. Which I like and is kind of cute, but then I'm thinking of all the fucked up movies I like right now.
I've ruined my life by watching too many movies. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
In what way?
Like my brain is wired in a different way. Like anytime.
But you haven't done an action because a movie. You haven't pulled a Joker or like Dark Knight.
Well, no, because I don't like that stuff. But it's like because
so if you liked that stuff, you would have pulled a Dark Knight.
Well, so there'll be instances where I'll be just living my life, driving or walking or something, and I'll like visualize it as if it's a film, and I'll be like, okay, what would be playing right now? This would be playing. How would this be shot? So it's like I can't even have a genuine moment in life without thinking about how it relates to cinema. Some movies have genuinely ruined me.
Wow.
Which is why there's no choice but to go into it, you know. It's like, well,
I suppose
they've already rewired my brain. So let's just,
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I can't really read a book without imagining it as a movie.
Yeah, 100%. Everything in my life I think of in cinematic terms. Everything. It's like, what are you going to do?
You can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't. It's like something you can't turn off. 1.5. Holy shit, I think I've only enjoyed like 3 silent films, and this isn't one of them.
This isn't one of them. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. This is the last one. It's 5 stars. My God, what a face.
Yeah, what a face, indeed.
So that's Sherlock Jr.
That is Sherlock Jr. This has been
AKA
fun.
Sherlock Jones.
Yeah, there you go. Push it. What are we doing next week? We are doing Gertrude.
Stein?
No.
What's Gertrude?
It's Dreyer.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's a 1964 Carl Theodor Dreyer film.
Have you seen it?
No, haven't seen it.
What is it about?
Do you even want to know? I mean, maybe we just watch it.
Kind of.
I don't know.
Wait, this is so weird. I don't think this has ever happened. Have I heard of this movie? I mean, I guess I have, but
I've only heard of it. I'm looking at a poster right now with two very moody people on it in black and white, and I'm into it. So.
But this is so strange. This has never happened where I'm like, what movie is it next week? And you're like, Gertrude. And I thought you were joking.
No.
I genuinely have no idea.
So this will be our third Dreyer because we've done Joan of Arc and we've done
Ordette. Ordette. Remember when Ordette changed our lives?
It truly did. So come back next week. Join us for that. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Special thanks to the patrons at our highest tier, John Pennington and Cynthia Fordwell. Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line, you can find us on email at hello@seenandheardpod.com or on Instagram at seenandheardpod.